This morning there is a multiplicity of scriptures in which we will be reading or referring to. And so if you're one of those people that take notes, you might just want to jot down the reference and then at a later time go back and look up that particular passage. This morning I turn our attention to the subject of words. The words that we use, the words that we hear, the words that we think. You see, words matter. Words identify. Words condemn. Words are powerful. It is said that the pen is mightier than the sword. From a child, I've been told that sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. I'm not sure that that is true. In Psalm 19 and verse number 14, the request is that the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart would be pleasing to thee, O God. In Proverbs 8 and verse 13, it says, out of the heart, the mouth speaks. Jesus said in Luke chapter number 6 and verse number 45, a good man out of the evil stored up in his heart. For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. Your words either impress or diminish how people think of you. The English language is an ever-evolving one. I have said that the think he was winning and he didn't want to get up. And so he ordered a servant to bring him on an occasion slices of meat and cheese placed between slices of bread. And forever then after it was called a sandwich. Americans have given the world words like cafeteria, electricity, eggplant, earth tone, far out. You don't seem very impressed. Well, because of that, I'll continue. Words like popsicle, neat, bail, to leave abruptly. You thought it was something that you gave so you got out of jail. No, he bailed. How about feeling blue or having the blues? Well, that's obviously someone who's not feeling very well. You see, you have to know the English language to understand the words. If I said, well, it's a buck, it wouldn't be necessarily a male deer. It would be an American dollar. If I said by the skin of one's teeth, it would mean that you just barely got in. If I said that that person was a creep, well, you'd know that he was weird or a strange person. If he's a couch potato, you'd know that he's somebody who just lays around and watches television all the time. If I said you crammed, wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. It would mean that you studied real hard the day before a test. If I said, well, I went in and I crashed, Well, if you're an airline pilot, that's not a good thing. But if you're somebody who's really tired and you go in to take a nap, that is a good thing. If I said that that person was down to earth, or that they drove me up a wall, or they were real, or if I said we were going Dutch, you'd know exactly what I was talking about, right? Because you're evolved as the people of the English language. Well, some of the greatest leaders that this world has ever known have been men and women with a command of language. And they are blessed with the ability of words. Sometimes we call them long-winded. Other times we call them preachy. Other times we might call them a politician. But they certainly have the ability to talk with words. The ability to persuade the mind and the heart. The ability to move people to action, both for greatness or disaster. No matter what, every thought has a word. You can't really think without words. No mother has ever sung her baby a lullaby without words. No politician can create passion or fervor without words. No ambassador can adequately represent his nation without a lexicon of descriptive words. And no teacher has ever stretched the minds of their students without the use of words. No lawyer can present the truth accurately in court devoid of words. Now, with all that being said, with all that being our introduction this morning, there are three things that I would like for you to do with me this morning. The first of which is to ponder the potential of words. The second is to consider the limitations of words. And thirdly, to understand the usage of words. But before we do all that, would you pray with me? Father, this morning, may the words of my mouth and may the meditations of my heart be pleasing to you above all else. And may my words this morning be used of your Holy Spirit to convict, to convince, and to convey truth. For we ask it in your Son's name. Amen. The first thing I'd like for you to do with me this morning is to simply ponder the potential of your words. In Proverbs 18, in verse number 21, it says, an honest tongue that has the power of life and death. The tongue has the power of life and death. With our tongue, we have the power to hurt and the power to heal, the power to wreck and the power to restore. We may never take up arms against an individual, but the unskilled, untamed use of our tongue may do far greater damage than that which could ever be done with a lethal weapon. There are several reasons our words have such unbelievable potential. First of which is the fact that words can sink in. And I want to underline that idea of a word sinking in to our minds and our hearts and become part of us. We might not be able to point to the bruises that we sustained in our youth, but each of us can remember a hurtful word that was used against us. Many times we believe those things. things. Many times those things shaped our thinking. And for years, maybe even our entire lives, those words became part of us. I remember when I was probably 8 or 9 years old, I had bicycles. I lived in a concrete jungle in the suburbs and always had a bicycle. And with a bicycle, you always had something that was going wrong with the bicycle. The chain coming off, the tire going flat. And I remember a particular time in which my front tire went flat, and I went in and got one of my dad's tools, maybe 2 or 3 of my dad's tools, and I went in and I was going to take the front wheel off of my bicycle. And I will remember this as if it took place yesterday, my dad walking up to me and saying, "Son, you better learn to push a pencil because you're never going to be able to be any good with tools." Maybe that's why I have a fascination with tools today. Maybe that's the reason why I have a whole bunch of them that are real clean. But tools, never forget it. Solomon wrote of this same idea of how that words shape people's lives in Proverbs chapter 12 and verse number 18. The words of the reckless pierce like the sword, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. Proverbs 18:14. A man's spirit can sustain him during his illness, but who can bear a crushed spirit? The potential for evil is sure in words because they sink in and they are never forgotten. There is one thing that you can never do. One thing in all of eternity you will never be able to do here on this earth or in heaven to come. And that is to take back one of your words. Once it is released, it is gone forever. Once it is released, all the power of that word is in effect and can never be pulled back. I want you to think with me, the potential of words. That reckless words pierce like a dagger the feelings of an individual may be totally devastated because of someone's unwise speaking. Virginia tells the day of walking up into church and they were finishing off the concrete of the sidewalk. You remember what I'm going to say, Virginia? And that you looked at it and you said something that was critical about it. It wasn't level, it wasn't smooth, it was too rocky or something. And at that moment, the person said, "Why are you so negative? Why do you always look at that which is wrong?" Things that we say that we should have never said. We say that person has a foot-shaped mouth because they're constantly sticking their foot in their mouth. And how many times has it been that we walked away from a situation and you say, "Why did I say that?" Or, "Why didn't I say?" We cover it up. We make excuses for ourselves. But the sharpness of our tongue had broken the heart and crushed the spirit. And even though we pulled it back, the wound is still there. Words sink in, don't they? Words destroy the feelings of the tender. Words sink in and influence the attitude of people toward other people. Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 8 says, "The words of a gossip are like choice morsels. They go down to a man's most inward parts." The words of gossip can go deep inside of us and penetrate and destroy. The words of a gossip separate close friends, Proverbs 16:28. Words destroy friendship. Words hinder attitudes. Words have great effect upon our self-esteem. Solomon had much to say about it. And those who, for example, flatter. The flatterer is someone who attempts to lure us in and cause us to believe something about ourselves that may or may not be true. A flatterer is like a con man who gets us to drop our guard and to believe the lie and invest what we don't have. A flatterer is one who spreads a net and trips our feet. Check the motivation of your words. Check the motivation of people when they say things. Why do they say what they say? Why do they attempt to persuade? Proverbs chapter 16, verse number 27 and 28. An ungodly man digs up evil, and it's on his lips like a burning fire. A perverse man sows strife. Little words are like a little spark that can ignite a raging wildfire and destroy hundreds of trees, hundreds of acres. How many reputations have been ruined by a single word of an evil man or an evil woman? Once a word has been said, it can never be retrieved. And how many friendships have been destroyed by someone who stirs up trouble between them? I want you to think with me this morning of the potential of your words. Now, with all that being said, let me tell you that words have limitations. A tongue is approximately 2 ounces of a muscular organ that vibrates and manipulates food and is used for swallowing. The tongue is used in the digestive system and is a very small part of your mouth and your throat. A tongue is used to cleanse your teeth and is a major function in speech and vocalization. Unharnessed, a tongue can kill people. And yet we need to learn that there are limits on a tongue. There should be no question to the power of words, but words also are very weak. Let me illustrate. Words never replace action. Words never replace a deed. Proverbs 14 and verse 23 says, all hard work brings forth a profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. Good intentions never accomplish anything for anyone. I'm going to read 4 chapters of the Bible in the morning, and I'm going to read 4 chapters of Bible at noon, and I'm going to read 4 chapters of Bible in the evening. And then when I finish, I will be able to say that I have read through the Bible 3 times in a year. So I say, okay, did you read your 3 chapters? Well, I'm going to start tomorrow. You see, words never accomplish anything. I never forget telling Stephen, I want you to get up and I want you to mow the grass. And Stephen said, no problem. About 15 minutes later, I walked through and hey, Stephen, I asked you if you're going to mow the grass. Well, I'm gonna do it. You know, but first, I'm going to, of course, what Stephen did best, eat. And I've got to eat first. And then I'm going to go out there and mow the grass. So, as a kind, compassionate, loving father that I am, I went on. And about 15 minutes later, I come by and he's still not on the lawnmower. And I say, Stephen, I thought I told you to mow the grass. And he said, I'm going to. You don't have to tell me. And then I said, when? When are you going to mow the grass? And he says, well, I'm going to. You see, all the going to in the world never got one blade of grass ever mowed. There's a limitation to our words. Words cannot alter facts. Just because someone says something doesn't mean that it's true. Just because somebody says something doesn't mean that it's a fact. Words have limitation. Proverbs chapter 24 and verse number 12 says, if you say, but we knew nothing about this, does that not he who weighs the heart perceive that? Does not he who guards your life know that? Will he not repay everyone according to what they have done? Not what they said, but what they've done. Our words cannot alter facts. Just because someone tells you something, and even though someone might say it as a matter of fact, doesn't necessarily mean that it's a matter of fact. So words cannot replace deeds, and words cannot alter facts, and words cannot compel action. Words cannot replace deeds, and words cannot alter facts, and the words cannot compel action. How many times has somebody said something to their child that they wanted them to do, and it did not get done? How many times have you been told to do something and you did not do it? You see, words do not necessarily compel action. Do I have to say this more than once to you? How many times do I have to say this to get you to do something? You see, words cannot compel action. That's why I know that no word of exhortation that I ever say from this pulpit can make you do anything. The only thing that can possibly change, the only way any possible change can take place is when the heart is affected. Proverbs chapter 29 and verse number 19, words alone will not discipline a servant. The words may be understood, but they are not heeded. Anyone who has ever dealt with people, anyone that's ever been a manager of people, anyone that's ever employed other people, know this Bible verse above all else. Just because I tell you to do it doesn't mean that it's going to get done. Any person that's ever tried to train somebody, no matter how many times that you say to somebody to do something, no matter how many times you show a person how to do it, their natural being within them will cause them to try to take the easy way, the shortcut, the way that seems right unto a man. But the end is destruction. The positive side to limitation is that same thing goes true with evil words as it does positive words. They have the same limitation. Just because someone tells you to do something that's wrong doesn't mean that you have to do it. Just because somebody orders you to do something that's immoral doesn't mean that you have to go along with it. Just because someone says something doesn't mean that you have to obey it if it's not right inside of God. Someone said that someone else someone that says that somebody else has said it, and somebody else has said it, doesn't mean that you have to go along with it. Wrongdoers eagerly listen to gossip. Liars pay close attention to slander. Proverbs chapter 17 and verse number 4. And we have the power within us to stop it. To stop it right in its tracks. Just because the person says, "Did you hear about so-and-so?" doesn't mean that you have to say anything to anybody of what you just heard. You have the ability to stop the whole chain of destruction. Okay. Words have power. Words also have limitations. Also, I want you to consider how that we use our words. We are to use our words in a way that help rather than hinder. We are to use our words in a way that help rather than hinder. We're to speak in a way that honors God rather than dishonors Him. You see throughout the Proverbs of Solomon the constant contrast between the tongue of the righteous and the heart of the ungodly. An example, Proverbs chapter 10, verse 20 and 21. The tongue of the righteous is choice silver, but the heart of the wicked is of little value. The lips of the righteous nourish many, but the fool die for a lack of sense. And so there's that constant contrast throughout the Proverbs of the righteous tongue and the deceitful heart. I want to wrap this up. I want to wrap this up in thinking about maybe 5 points to remember concerning our use of words. First of which, we're to keep our words true. Proverbs 16 and verse 13. Kings take pleasure in honest lips. They value the one who speaks the truth. Proverbs chapter 24, verse 26. An honest answer is like a kiss on the lips. Whether you're talking about business, or education, or church problems, or dishonesty, you'll find them in each one of those categories. How many times have you been told something that later on you found out was an out-and-out lie? We can deliver this in 10 days. I'll be right over. I'll start your project on Monday. How many times have we been told something that when we're told those things, we know that is a flat-out lie? Fundamental to who we are and all that we speak as a faithful follower of Jesus Christ, telling the truth, telling it straight, laying it out as it is, should be one of our most highly sought after characteristics. You don't tell anyone anything if they think that you're lying to them. You can't explain anything about God, Bible, truth, heaven, hell, if they don't think you're telling them the truth. There is something that needs to goes unsaid here, and it's the idea that as a Christian, you're known for the truth. It's helpful to be known. constantly be seen as someone who follows after the truth. Virginia thought that was such a high quality that when asked, what kind of personalized plate would you like to have on your car? Instead of saying teacher one, instead of saying mom of moms, she said, for truth. Christian armor. Told about in the writings of the Apostle Paul and the book of Ephesians. You know about that passage? The helmet of salvation. The breastplate of righteousness. The shoes that are shod with the preparation of the gospel. They're all held together by one piece of armament. You know what it is? It is the belt of truth. Secondly, we need to keep our words pure. Proverbs chapter number 11, verse 12 and 13 says, whoever derides their neighbor has no sense, but the one who has understanding holds their tongue. A gossip betrays confidence, but a trustworthy person keeps a secret. Proverbs 17, verse 28 says, even fools are thought to be wise if they keep silent, and discerning if they hold their tongue. Proverbs 10, verse 19, too much talk leads to sin. Be sensible and keep your mouth shut. How many times have we had to confess to the Lord, if only I would have kept my mouth shut. I didn't need to say that. Keeping our words true, keeping our words pure, keeping our words gentle. Proverbs 15 and verse number 1. A gentle answer turns away wrath. Harsh words stir up anger. Someone who is abusive, someone who is unkind, remember this, give them back better than what you have received. A gentle answer gives time for the temper to cool. A gentle answer gives time for words to have their powerful impact. In Proverbs chapter 15 and verse number 3, the soothing tongue is the tree of life, but the perverse tongue crushes the spirit. So we keep our words true, we keep our words pure, we keep our words gentle. And number 4, we keep our words appropriate. Generalization. Words that are not close to being correct. But I go back to saying, when you go to court, you say, I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Appropriate, rather than generalizations. Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 4 says, the words of a man's mouth are a deep watered well, and the well springs of all wisdom like a flowing brook. Proverbs 16 verse 24, kind words are like honey, sweet to the soul, healthy for the body. Sometimes it's just a simple word, spoken at the appropriate time, that'll change a heart, encourage the soul, strengthen the faith of a follower of Christ. And lastly, and I always deal with this in my own life, think before you speak. If I could get a handle on that, my entire life would be different. Think before you speak. Proverbs 15, verse 28 says, the heart of the righteous ponders how to answer, but the mouth of the wicked pours out evil things. Can you see the picture that Solomon's attempting to paint here? When Jesus was here, he spoke in Matthew chapter 12 and verse number 33. A tree is identified by its fruit. If a tree's good, its fruit's going to be good. If a tree's bad, its fruit's going to be bad. You brood of snakes, how could evil men like you speak what is good and right? For whatever is in your heart determines what you say. A good person produces good things from the treasure of a good heart. And an evil person produces evil things from the treasure of an evil heart. And I tell you this, you must give an account on the judgment day for every idle word that you speak. The words that you say will either acquit you or condemn you. Words. The expression of our heart. The revelation of who we are. They will either acquit you or they will condemn you. They will either control or they will condemn. And to control our tongue is the only way possible. The only way possible to control the tongue is through the power of the Holy Spirit of God, who can keep our words true, keep our words pure, keep our words gentle, keep our words appropriate, and at the right moment, at the right circumstance, may we come on the scene and say just the right thing. Pray with me.